Have you ever felt like you're just not being productive? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Hello, this is Dr. Todd, and welcome to Dr. Todd Explains. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've learned along the way that help keep me productive. Hopefully, you'll be able to take those things and apply them to whatever vocation you're in, whatever hobbies you have, whatever passions you pursue, in order to get more done at the end of the day. There are a few things I want to kind of talk about as far as a few things you ought to do and a few things you shouldn't do. But first, let me tell you what everybody needs in their productivity system. You need a task manager of some sort. You need some ability to take down quick notes or notes. You need a filing system of some sort, and you need a calendar for events, dates, obligations you have to do, things you have to be at. And so if you take those things, and by the way, here's the beauty of this. Those four elements: task manager, note-taking capabilities, file system, and a calendar, that can be done on paper. It can be done electronically. It can be done with the highest, fanciest computers you can buy. And so that you've got to get the core elements of the system first. If you don't have those core elements, you're not going to be effective. You also need to put those elements need to work together in such a way where there's a workflow. I'll give you an example of that in a moment as far as how my system works that I've learned over the years. So what I want you to make sure you don't do is don't waste a lot of time focusing on applications, computer applications, different devices you can purchase, and different systems that productivity gurus can try to sell you. It's really important, and I'm the chief of sinners when it comes to applications. I've dealt with Chrome, Google operating system as far as Chromebooks. I've dealt with Macs quite a bit, a little bit of Windows as far as OneNote and all those kind of productivity suite that comes with that, and even Linux, quite actually a lot with Linux. And what I've discovered is if your system is right, you can be productive no matter what electronic devices you use. That's not the point. The point is you can have the fanciest toys in the world, but if you don't know how to play with them, you won't be very effective. So make sure that you focus on getting your system right, and I'll walk through that system in a moment. And then also, don't waste a lot of time buying toys and being fearful you're going to miss out of whatever the latest and greatest is. You'll understand your needs and what you need. And by the way, this is part of the process, which brings me to my next point. Don't wait until you build the perfect productivity system to start it. You need to build it and make adjustments along the way. I think that's a very important key component there, because what happens is sometimes your workflows change, what's demanded of you changes, what you're trying to accomplish changes. And so you have to be able to be flexible with that and make tiny adjustments along the way, and you find out what really will work for you. It may be an application, but a lot of times it's actually a process you figure out that works much better. Also, and this is just a personal thing because I spend way too much time watching YouTube, I think. Do not fall in love with all the various YouTube productivity gurus. It just cracks me up because one of the examples is you'll waste a lot of time, you waste a lot of energy, a lot of money. Because what happens is your typical productivity guru gets paid basically to come up with new ways of being productive. Well, there's only so many ways you can be productive. There's only so much time you can be productive. So what will happen is so-and-so will like, let's say, the application Notion. And he's all in on Notion. And man, you buy the course that's $1,500 from some other guru, and you take it and you learn Notion. And because this is your guy, you're learning from him. And then 6 months later, he says, I'm leaving Notion. Now I'm going to go to Evernote. And then it's a revolving door. And everybody's got to make money. I get that, but it's just not super effective for you to be. Now, it's okay to get some general concepts and ideas from these guys and these ladies, but the idea is you have your own work to do. You have your own workflow you need to follow and understand. Otherwise, it won't help. Doing somebody else's workflow is not going to necessarily help you with yours. Also, refine your process and focus on the output, not the new shiny toys that you're tempted to buy or that you will buy. It's really focus on, if you're a video creator or YouTuber, focus on the quality of the videos, not the application that you're using to produce the videos, not the camera gear you're using. I've noticed some YouTubers that have huge YouTube channels, and they're basically shooting with a webcam with their phones, and so it's not really, if I'm not a professional guitar player, you can buy me the nicest guitar in the world and I can't play it. So think through that. Now, so let me now talk a little bit about, when we look at those 4 items, the notes, the task manager, the note taking, the file system, as well as the calendar. I do a lot of things, and I came by this in my workflow because of having. I'm a counseling pastor, but I teach in about 5 different institutions, and every one of the institutions has a different deadline for when this needs to be turned in, or this needs to be graded, or these office hours need to be held, or this meeting needs to be attended. And they don't talk to each other because they're different institutions. So I've got to stay on top of that. And so what I've learned a long time ago is everything sort of rises and falls on your task manager. Every morning when I get up, and I use, at this point, I use Todoist, but you can use paper. I've used bullet journals. I've used Things 3. I've used Google Keep even for some of these things. But if you take your task manager, and every morning you sit down and you look at what you have, and that will show you what you need to do. I set up 2 classes today from one of the universities, and they're 8-week courses, and there's several things that had to be set up before the course gets started on Monday. And I put all those in the to-do list, but the rest of the weeks 2 through 8 come later. But see, I have specific functions I need to perform that will pop up on my to-do list on that given day. So on every Monday, I grade one institution. Every Tuesday, I grade another institution, so on and so forth, so that nothing ever slips through the cracks. Another example would be, I got a streaming subscription. My wife and I like to watch Acorn, the British TV show, and it's going to expire. It's about to renew in April, and they sent it to me. So what I did was I put in my task manager, I put check Acorn subscription renewal, and about 2 days ahead in 2025. So whenever that time comes up, it'll automatically pop up. I don't have to worry about it, and therefore I won't end up paying an additional year for something. So that's the kind of thing you can do. Another thing I found that was really simple, I've used Evernote, I've used OneNote, I've used Notion. If it's out there, I've used it as far as note-taking apps go. One of the things that I do use now is I use a Remarkable tablet. But the Remarkable tablet, what's interesting about it is you can take notes by hand, and then you can export PDFs to you can even send emails. And I can look at this on Linux as well if I want to. There's an application on the Mac you can use it for, but it's the handwriting that's really helpful for me on that. So I capture a lot of quick stuff on the Remarkable tablet at this point, but you can use anything. You can use Google Keep, anything really would work, as long as you can get to it. What I discovered, though, was a lot of the things that I work on are specifically projects. So I used to be a big like Evernote where you can sort everything and I've got all this data. Well, that's not really helpful. So all I've done is, let's pretend I use something called pCloud, but let's say you're using Dropbox or something, iCloud, whatever, if you're using an electronic storage system. And by the way, you could be using a filing cabinet, it works as well. But I just simply set a folder up with whatever the project is. I'll name it like project dash whatever, and then or if I have a client, it's client dash, and they're all in a current operating folder of projects, and I throw everything in there. Even like if I'm taking hand notes, I export it to PDF, I throw it in there because I'm really doing all my work out of that folder, just like I did back in the 80s, let's say, when we didn't have all these computers and things. And that works really well. And then when you're done, you can put it in a completed folder, kind of like an archive folder, and go back to it later. A lot of times we spend a lot of time gathering information, collecting, but never really processing it and really doing anything with it. So we're building this wonderful house that's never being lived in. And so I've simplified that, and I found that's worked really well. So I say all that to say, focus on the system. All you really need is a task manager of some sort, note-taking capabilities, a filing system, and a calendar to make sure you capture all your dates. In Todoist, for instance, it ties to my calendar. So when I look at my to-do list in the morning, it's right there with, oh, you've got that meeting with that client today. You could do it by hand, or you could actually just look at it separately, but you just need a work process where you sit down every morning and you look at your to-do list, you check your calendar, and then you start following up on what's important with your projects and things. Well, if you like the work I'm doing here, please feel free to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. But if you have any interesting things you've learned along the way related to how you have learned to be more productive, even if you've fallen into some productivity holes before, let me know. Put them in the comments. I'd like to interact with you there. God bless. Talk to you in the next video.